Snow Tracks is sponsored by Ski-Doo Snowmobiles, Yamaha, Conquers Snow, and by FXR Racing, Full Throttle Addiction.
I've been out to West Yellowstone so many times I've lost track. I've been here in the winter, I've ridden sleds, I've been here in the summer, I've done ATVs and side-by-sides. I keep coming back because I love this place. It's such a wonderland, such a cool spot, so many things that it offers for people to do and so many experiences. I mean, the scenery is just second to none. And honestly, I love the winter here the best. Every winter, Super Tracks and Snow Tracks comes out to West Yellowstone. We do an event here that's with all 4 manufacturers, and we get to test next year's snowmobiles before they're released so that we can have video footage and photography ready for the start of each winter season. We bring test riders with us, select people that we trust, we know are good riders, and we're friends with. And Jamie Byers from Byers Motorsports is one of the guys who I've ridden with for years, know him from the snowcross track because we used to sponsor him, and just like hanging out with.
The relationship between AJ and the Snow Tracks crew is back in my racing days, the Super Tracks team sponsored us. Our dealership has supplied Super Tracks and Snow Tracks, as well as dirt tracks with all their promotional media vehicles. AJ and I both used to race, so got a lot in common, and got invited about 6 years ago out here to come out and to snowshoot and try out some new sleds.
For our trip to West Yellowstone, we wanted to make sure that we had really good sleds. We wanted to make sure that they were properly maintained, that it wasn't just some rental fleet that was sort of hacked together. And so I knew right away who I was going to call. It was Brandy and Brad from Polaris West, because they are a first-class dealership. They run a very tight ship. So Brandy's family actually owns the Days Inn right across the road from Polaris West, which is kind of cool. So we were staying at the Days Inn, and we just walked literally straight across the street and met her at the front door of the dealership.
Polaris West offers in West Yellowstone, Montana, snowmobile rentals in the wintertime. We have a full-service gas station, full-service dealership. We offer backcountry and trail guiding.
You know, after a quick hug and a handshake and an introduction of her to Jamie, Brandy was ready to go, and so were we. So we grabbed the sleds, geared up, put our helmets on and our gloves and goggles, and man, we were off riding right away.
Even though we're in the mountains here, there's still a lot of trails around the area, and you got to drive from town to get into the mountains. You're not right into the mountains, so there's a lot of different loops around that we've been on, and gets you into different spots with different terrain.
West Yellowstone has a lot of different riding styles. There's not only Yellowstone National Park, but the Gallatin National Forest, which surrounds West Yellowstone, has so many riding opportunities. There's a lot of people that come back year after year strictly to ride in the forest. You don't care to go into Yellowstone.
The beautiful part is that they groom all of their trails here. It's not just, you know, cow paths and gnarly mountain trails that are all rutted out and whooped out. So you've got a nice smooth ride, which is fun. So we were able to turn up the speed a little bit, you know, sort of have a good time on the trail and just experience the other side to West Yellowstone, because West Yellowstone is in the mountains. It is the Midwest, but it is not all mountains.
Snow Tracks is sponsored by MBRP Performance Exhaust, lightweight performance.
Brandy had a special spot picked out for us. It's a place that she really likes to go, and it's sort of her free ride area that she doesn't tell anybody about, and she kept it special for us, which was great. That was nice.
The area we plan on riding was up South Plateau. There's some great meadows in there. The trees are spaced just right, so you can hook the trees in the powder. You can get some climbing back there, and it just offers a variety of riding areas.
What it is a very sort of, I would say, undergrown forest where there's not a whole lot of tall pine trees, but there's a lot of short ones. And amongst all of those, sort of those groves of trees, there's some pretty good little powder pockets that you can, powder hook. There's a couple of little wind lips that you can rip over and do some wheelies and jump across. There's a couple of small hills and some ravines that you can do a little side hilling in. And it really gives you a good variation of sort of the off-trail boondocking in West Yellowstone without putting you in any risk of danger. I mean, there's, zero avalanche chance in those areas, and the worst thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna bump into a pine tree. So it was a nice spot, and it really sort of got us, after the trail ride, sort of broke us into the boondocking out here.
So I've done lots of riding out here in Yellowstone, but it was nice that Brandy took us out to somewhere completely different that I've never been before. We were able to find a treed area with lots of powder, and I was able to pull some powder hooks and play off in the trees.
After we were done riding in the initial spot that Brandy took us to, and all that kind of cool, short trees and powder, we broke over this one hill, and quite literally, there was this valley in between the trail. The trail did this loop right around this valley, and it was what you could explain as being sort of almost like a snowcross playground. And I think Brandy stuck to the trail and was kind of wondering where we were. And at one point, she was stopped on the trail looking around, and Jamie and we both looked at each other and we were like, should we do this? And I think it was pretty much known that we were going to do this. In the one particular area we were riding, there wasn't a whole lot of real vertical side hilling to be done, but there was a small little pocket in this one area. The downside to it was that the run out was scattered with old burned off timber that would definitely ride off a sled, and it was pretty vertical down to that timber. So it's kind of a commitment side hill where you get up there and it's like, okay, either you make this or you break this. The lines that had previously been run close to the side hill where I was getting the sled on edge were completely frozen solid. So I'm getting bumped around and bucked around, and this is my first time this year riding in the mountains, and getting out at altitude. And so I'm a little shaky at first. Next thing you know, the sled's upside down and rolling down the hill, and I'm thinking, darn, Brandy's watching this happen to her sleds. I don't want this thing to go, into trees. I don't want to wreck something. I ended up stopping it upside down. It took quite a while to get it out. Jamie came up thankfully and helped me get the sled over. We managed to, thankfully, get it on its track, point it downhill and ride it out. It took a little time, and at altitude, I think both Jamie and I were sweating more than we expected, but it was a good outcome to what could have been a very bad experience. It does feel good at the point that you exit out and you know you're good. Yeah. Before that, it's a little nerve-wracking. I'm pretty familiar with certain areas in West Yellowstone, and Brandy had taken us to a couple spots we'd never seen before, which was really cool. But I really wanted to go back up to Two Top because it's pretty much the place where wicked wind drifts and wind lips of snow and cool little booters.
It was great going up to Two Top again. Got a lot of experience up there with shooting photos for the magazine. So we kind of knew the areas that we were aiming towards that had some drifts from previous years and had some great hits, so provided some great shots.
But man, it was a lot of fun, and having Jamie there was cool because, he finds one and he's like, hey, come over here and hit this. And so it's like, yeah, okay, let's session that thing. And then I find one and I'm like, hey, come over this side, I got a wicked double over here. And so we go and session that. And then there's, a little pocket of powder over here. Hey, let's go side hill over there and let's go powder hook that. And I mean, honestly, you can spend a whole day up at the top of Two Top and just not stop. I mean, it's like permanent smile underneath the helmet all day long.
It was great to come out and ride with AJ today. It provides something different for my experience out here in Yellowstone from just shooting photos for the magazine. So both AJ and I have the same riding style, so it was an awesome time hitting the same stuff and finding different areas.
I had a great time hanging out with AJ and Jamie. I was a little concerned about whether or not the snowmobiles were gonna fare through it all without coming back in pieces, but we made it through and had a great time.
I love snowmobiling. I love going out in the mountains. I mean, it's something that I don't get to do because I'm a flatland guy. That's where I'm from. And geographically, I can't get into the mountains when I want to. But when I get out here, and especially when you come out with somebody that you know, somebody that you like riding with, who's a friend and who can tear it up just like you can, it's honestly, I don't know what word to put to it. This is where I want to be right now. This is what I want to be doing. I'm with a bunch of guys that I like riding with. We're having a blast. We're doing it safe, and we're riding sleds. I mean, I got a great job. Honestly, I'm blessed to have this job, and I love doing what I do.
SnowTracks is sponsored by Snowmobile in Quebec. Experience a ride you'll never forget. Trail Tech is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
There are many ways to improve the performance of your sled, and I'm not just talking underhood performance, but ride and handling performance as well. It could be a new set of skis, a new set of shocks, or something even easier, like traction products. There are many different options when it comes to traction products. So many different brands and many different traction and steering improvement concepts and designs, all attempting to do the same thing. Make your sled hook up and handle better. At the end of the day, a new set of carbides, some ski enhancement products, or a fresh set of studs can have as much or more impact on the way your sled handles than many more expensive options will. Today, we're going to install a set of Woody's Navigator ski protectors on our Ski-Doo Expedition Extreme and a set of 96 studs in our new Polaris Indy SP. And we're doing these upgrades for very specific reasons. Ski-Doos are known for their incredibly accurate and precise steering, but it's no secret this comes at the expense of a more nervous front end. The Navigator Ski Protector is designed to settle the front end of any single runner pilot ski equipped Ski-Doo and help protect your plastic ski when you're traveling over hard surfaces. The concept is really quite simple. Darting and a nervous front end feel are the result of your carbide runners falling into other people's ski tracks and following them instead of the path the driver is steering towards. There are a number of different options on the market for fixing this problem. The design concept behind most of them is very similar. Smooth the snow out in front of your carbide so it can cut its own path instead of following another one. Think of these things as tiny little trail groomers for your skis. They effectively reset the snow in front of your runner so it has a fresh surface to work with. The inevitable and very understandable question you probably have is this: do they work? And the answer is yes. Now let's take a look at our Indy SP. Now this sled handles great just the way it is, and it's super fast. But because it has a coupled skid frame, it doesn't transfer weight to the rear on acceleration as much as a sled with an uncoupled rear suspension would. Which means your track isn't being forced into the ground as hard as it needs to be if you want maximum forward thrust. You can fiddle with your suspension settings till you're blue in the face and see little improvement. Or you can have a set of studs installed and get all the extra traction you're looking for. There are a few things you need to consider when you're looking to buy studs. First and most important is you need to find out if your sled has a 1 or 2 ply track. Stud manufacturers like Woody's make specific products for each type of track, and most often they're not interchangeable. Our Indy has a 2 ply track, so we chose to go with Woody's Gold Diggers because they have a great reputation for providing excellent traction and having long wear life thanks to their durable 60-degree carbide tip. The next thing you need to figure out is what lug height track you have so you know what length of studs to buy. There's no official set in stone rule for how far your studs can protrude past the lug on your track. but obviously not enough is going to result in poor traction, and too much could cause damage. Our Indy is equipped with a track with a 1.25 inch lug, so we're going to choose a Gold Digger stud in a 1.325 inch length. This will allow the stud to protrude past the lug just enough without causing any negative interference with our heat exchangers or tunnel. Finally, you need to decide how many studs you want to run, and this is all based on preference. Lots of studs will give you incredible traction, but could result in a sled that's hard to steer. Not enough studs could simply be ineffective and therefore a waste of money. We went with 96 studs for our Indy, and I think this is the perfect starting point. If you're not sure what to choose, most manufacturers like Woody's have got an application guide on their website to help you get the perfect setup. There are many ways to improve a snowmobile, but remember, it's not always the most expensive or most impressive that will have the biggest effect. The easiest place to start is to find out what traction products are available for your sled, what effect they're going to have, and decide whether or not those results will be to your liking.
Closed captioning of SnowTrax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
Before I even start this test ride, I want to preface it with the truth that I'm a little bit skeptical about a 162-inch Yamaha 1049cc Genesis and what it can do up here in the mountains. But since their reinvigoration into the mountain category in 2015, I have to remember that these new Viper MTXs are not the heavy mountain sleds of old. These are new, sleek, and incredibly capable mountain climbers that have not only proven to be successful in 2015, they've built on that success and overhauled them for model year 16. And the differences on the MTX are significant, not the least of which is the very interesting and obvious 3-inch Power Claw track that's found out back. Yes, the LE Viper MTX has gone 3-inch, and for today I'm testing the 162-inch version of the LE. But the big twist comes from the 1049cc Genesis Triple that's not just building the 135 plus horsepower we're used to, but is now going to be making competition-crushing power in the neighborhood of 180 ponies at altitude the two-strokes can't compete with. And it's got a warranty thanks to the Yamaha and MPI turbo relationship. But back to the turbo. One of the biggest things I find to be a problem at altitude, seeing that we come from 900 feet above sea level at SnowTrax World headquarters, is the power penalty that you pay when you ride at big digits. And on the 2016 MTX Viper LE with the dealer-installed MPI turbo kit, you pay 0 penalty. Wow, okay, maybe a little bit of turbo lag on initial throttle tip-in, but after that it is smooth sailing and nothing but boatloads of two-stroke crushing power. I know, I sound a little over the top, but honestly, this is the power I've been waiting for at altitude. It lets you do so much more. Are there downsides to a 4-stroke in the Alps? Well, sure there are. The extra weight is definitely noticeable up front, and I really don't like it, especially when you start to get extra aggressive. Certainly a 2-stroker is lighter, and yes, I would love to see Yamaha come out with a crazy light turboed 4-stroke that puts all the rest to shame. But the 1049cc Genesis does a pretty darn good job. While you do notice the extra effort required to throw the sled from side to side, it's zeroed out by the ability to use the throttle and huge torque to manipulate the sled and actually do what you want when you squeeze the throttle. The 3-inch lug on this sled is the most impressive in the industry in terms of sheer forward momentum when you give any input to the throttle. Thanks to the totally updated rear Fox Float skid frame that keeps the track evenly tensioned and delivers a quite acceptable ride for a mountain sled, you can feel all that 3-inch goodness. When you grab a handful, the skis get light, the smiles get big, and before you know it, your headlight is illuminating the pathway to Mars. And if you spool that turbo hard enough, the 3-inch Power Claw just might take you there. Quite a few changes went into the overhauled front end of the MTX. That includes a new spindle and A-arms, which not only reduce weight by 2.4 pounds, but also reduce the surface area contacting the snow. The significantly different upper A-arm is quite minimal and allows the new geometry to translate into a sled that's easier to side hill and get over onto its edge. But the real question is, does it work? Yes, it does. You notice this sled wanting to be pulled onto its side much easier. And because of the 1049's extra noticeable girth, you can do that with much more ease. Slaying the powder and not just finding, but taking the line you spot is easier. Throwing the sled side to side and hopping over board to board leaves you looking for more, looking to go bigger and enjoying every minute. This is by far the best mountain sled Yamaha has ever offered. And when linked with the MPI, man, it's hard to beat. So where does the new Viper MTX LE 162 with the MPI kit truly rank in the new 3-inch corner of the mountain market? I'm glad you asked. While you are going to pay a weight penalty to ride this 4-stroke, I feel it's acceptable. In fact, while there may be sleds that side hill a little better or weigh a little less, the power advantage of this snowmobile puts it in the running for the best mountain sled of 2016. And it's been a while since we could say that. Yamaha should be very proud of the work that they've done on this snowmobile because it truly rips. And the fact that you get 180 solid horsepower at any altitude while the competition is paying huge penalties, well, that's priceless.
SnowTrax has been sponsored by Polaris Terrain Domination, Arctic Cat, share our passion, and by Ontario Highlands, come wander.
If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more content from SnowTrax TV, click the like button and subscribe to the SnowTrax TV YouTube channel.